We'll start with the Palestinian issue. Okay, uh, you know, we are looking at a situation where one of the most extremist of officials is taking over basically the security of the West Bank. Are you concerned about that? You know, they have reached a deal that allows Mordet to basically decide the fate of the West Bank, the occupied West Bank.
So you're referring to an announcement that only recently emanated from Israel. We're aware of it. We're working to better understand this announcement and any potential implications. As we've said before, we believe it's critical for Israel and the Palestinian Authority to refrain from any unilateral steps that exacerbate tensions or have the potential to undercut efforts to advance the prospects for a negotiated two-state solution. Those steps are many. We've given illustrative examples, but they certainly include annexation of territory.
In the meantime, you know, the Israelis seem to be intent on going into the Palestinian community, the largest Palestinian city in this case, Nablus, other large Palestinian cities, Hebron, other places, and so on, and basically doing the same thing over and over again, under the pretext that they are in pursuit of certain militants. In this case, yesterday, they said they claimed that they were after 3 militants and so on, and in the end result, we had dozens of deaths and injuries, many of whom were civilians. What measures should be taken, you know, until we get to the point where you're saying, what measures ought to be taken to provide protection to the Palestinian people? It seems that the Palestinians lack protection. I know yesterday in my question to the ambassador, you know, she thought that the Palestinian Authority is not a state, they cannot go there and there. So what measures ought to be taken to ensure that Palestinian civilians are protected at the present time, not, you know, so far in the future?
So this goes back to the conversation we had yesterday and we've had previously as well. Two things are true at once. In this case, we recognize, as I noted yesterday, the very real security concerns that Israel faces. We've seen far too many just crushing examples of those very real security threats to Israel and to the Israeli people. At the same time, we've been deeply concerned, we've been alarmed at the loss of civilian life. And of course, yesterday, we saw another tragic example of the loss of civilian life in an Israeli counterterrorism raid in Nablus, as you mentioned. We believe it's incumbent on both parties, Israelis and Palestinians, to take steps that, in the first instance, don't further escalate tensions. Tensions are already far too high. They are far too high for anyone's liking, certainly ours. But from there, to take steps to actually de-escalate tensions, to take steps that bring down the temperature, that will allow the parties to work together to improve the security situation in the West Bank. To your question, we think that's imperative, and to address the tensions that have been inflamed of late. We are ready, willing, and able to support the parties in any way that we usefully can. Our officials have been engaged on this, as have other regional officials, with both Israelis, with Palestinians as well, to, again, support them in the steps that ultimately they themselves must take. These are not steps that the United States can take. These are not steps that other countries in the region can take. Only the Israelis and Palestinians themselves can undertake these steps. We are ready to continue to be a partner as they seek to undertake these steps, and we encourage them to do so.
In the meantime, you know, the Palestinian people are really left with a very hopeless situation. I mean, on the one hand, they see that the Israelis are advancing the plans for 4,600 units and so on in Area C, you know, in many other areas. I mean, I can go on and on and on, but you are fully aware. So if they feel so frustrated and so hopeless, we're going to see incidents like the one we saw on 27th of January. I don't think it can be avoidable, whether it's planned or not planned or whatever. I mean, aren't you concerned that violence begets violence, and this, you know, horrible, unbridled Israeli violence would ultimately, you know, create counter-violence?
Saeed, I want to be very clear that we condemn all forms of violence. We condemn terrorism in all its forms. There is never a justification for any act of terrorism. Never. Our goal in this is not to set the parties directly in a room, to encourage them to go directly to a room to negotiate a two-state solution. We are under no illusion that that is possible today, tomorrow, perhaps in the near term. Our goal is to support the parties as they themselves, in the first instance, have to take these steps to de-escalate tensions, and from there, take steps, we hope, that help to preserve the viability of a two-state solution. Now, that doesn't mean that the United States is standing idly by. As I said before, we're engaging with the parties, we're engaging with the region. More than that, Saeed, I think your question noted the sense of hopelessness and sense of despair among many Palestinians. That's something we recognize. It's something we realize, and it's something we've sought to counteract. And we've done so in very real and practical ways. In the first instance, we reestablished a relationship with the Palestinian Authority, but with the Palestinian people. And to the point of real and practical steps, the United States has led the international community in providing humanitarian relief to the Palestinian people. Over the 2 years of this administration, we've provided more than $900 million, almost $1 billion of humanitarian support, of humanitarian relief to the Palestinian people in Gaza, to the Palestinians in the West Bank. That is for the immediate humanitarian relief, but there is also a compounding effect, we think and we hope, to preserve that horizon of opportunity, to preserve that horizon of hope that I agree is critical. We cannot afford to let either side, either Israelis or Palestinians, lose that horizon of opportunity, that horizon of hope. It is part and parcel of our efforts to keep the viability of a negotiated two-state solution to this long-standing conflict alive. Yes, Nadia.